Cussy, Cower, was a small girl when her father was making sections of the Kuzitrin road that leads north out of Nome. I spoke with her about the making of that road and the history around it. My name is Kellie Miller. I go to school at Anvil City Science Academy, and I'll be interviewing her regarding the Kuzitrin road, one of the most used roads out of Nome. About 60 years ago, Cussy's father, Charles Reeder, took up the job of constructing the Kuzitrin road. Cussy was about 10 years old then, and she and the rest of her family were along in the construction of it. The reason for constructing the road was to connect Nome with Fairbanks.
I know that it was like the political will at the time that road was intended to somehow hook up to Fairbanks, because at that time, Fairbanks was the hub for the then territory of Alaska. All of our airplane traffic and all of our stuff used to come through Fairbanks. And it wasn't until later that Anchorage became kind of the big city for Alaska and the hub.
The road follows along the lines of the railroad that was used for mining that her father also used. It was called the Track of the Wild Goose. When the train was no longer usable, it was decided the road would be constructed.
When you build on the tundra, the first thing that normally happens is your house starts to sink or shift, or you wear out the tundra and get some kind of path or a trail. They wanted an easy way to travel, and the train was the best way. And then something more permanent had to take its place, and because the wood is rotting, it's going like this, and it's becoming a big maintenance thing.
I also have history with the road. My great-grandfather, Andrew Miller Sr., was one of the main heavy equipment operators that was working on the road. Making the road was an extensive process, and the machines used to do the job were bulldozers, loaders, and dump trucks. The company had a main camp area that had a cookhouse, cabins where the men would sleep, and such. Each day the crew would work further and further north, and go back to camp each night. And the work hours weren't very long, only about 8 hours.
My dad always said he never liked to work a man, longer than 8 hours a day. He said 8 hours a day is long enough for someone to be working, because after that, people become careless, or they're tired, or accidents start happening. And sometimes, you can't get away from that because maybe you're too far away from getting back to the camp. But I think he would try to keep the day, not a 12-hour shift or something like that.
When the weather was getting colder and nearing fall and winter, construction was stopped and everyone went back into town. Cussy and her siblings went to school for fall and winter. Then, when winter ended and summer was back, the road was back in construction. When I asked Cussy about what she thought of the idea of the road being back in construction and finished to Fairbanks, she said,
My personal thought is that one would have to weigh the benefit to the cost of it very carefully. Does Nome, what would we see, and what would that look like? I mean, is every crazy in the world going to jump in a car and want to come to Nome? Who owns the land, and are they going to put something there? With Nome as the hub of the Seward Peninsula, it would seem to me that if somebody wanted to build a road somewhere, we should be doing it on the Seward Peninsula and intertying some of these other communities that are out there.
After the road was finished, it became one of the most used roads for hunting and made it a way for people to have a camp or cabin out in the country. This has been an awesome opportunity, and I am very proud of the history of the Kuzitrin Road and my association to it.